3rd Street, McMinnville has looked this way pretty much since I've been in high school. 20 years, if you're wondering. So, you've already taken care of step 1. These are the 10 steps that we're going to face regardless of whatever property we find. In Oregon, it's pretty black and white, and it's in our favor. So there's really not a lot of pressure besides what you guys decide to put yourself in, right? So there's a lot of outs. We'll go through it, but the first step is getting pre-approved. I think we're close to the final stages of that with Amber Lee, right? I think she's on her last bit of documentation. She kind of did give me a little bit of a sneak peek. She's like, they're going to be good for like close to 600. So yeah, so that's that gives us a range in McMinnville, and you guys pretty much have great choices. Yeah, like the one I sent you was right next to the golf course. There's new constructions not too far away within that range, and so it's really like, what type of home do you guys want to get at that point? So that's very exciting. Second step is kind of what we're getting into right now. We want to look at homes, right? We want to see homes. Have you guys started that process at all? Going to open houses, anything like that?
Not open houses, just on the
Yep. And it's a lot of fun to do that. Those apps are, and the websites are pretty convenient. I use them myself, so.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Like the open houses, we can go into them?
Go for it.
It's just looking right.
Yeah, go for it. Yep. Yeah, so on the weekends you'll typically see them. If you want me to go with you, I'm happy to do that. But if you guys are just out and about driving around and you're like, I just want to casually go look, then feel free. Pop in and ask questions. And if you like it, then let me know. We'll go from there.
Yeah, because it's not nothing like we can't do, right?
Nope. Nah. Yeah, no, if there's an agent there that's being pushy, you can let me know. I'm happy to make a call as well, but they should pretty much be casual. When I have open houses, we just want to get people through, and yeah, it's not really about trying to, and that's the good thing about this. I always say, like, I'm not going to sell you a home, right? Like, the home will sell itself. You guys will decide if you like it, right? Like, I don't, it doesn't matter to me which home it is, as long as I'll make sure that I don't have the concerns that you guys will get a bad house, but you guys like the house. It's not about what I like, right? So it's very fun that way. So we want to have some fun and look at homes. I say that we want to look at enough homes to get a good gut feeling. I've done this enough. I told Oscar I've sold $200 million of real estate just in the last 7 years. So it's a lot of home sales, and I find that when you guys walk into a home and it's the right one, yeah, you guys kind of like look at each other and you're like, yeah, and it's a really cool feeling. It's one of the best feelings in my world. I saw it last night at a house, and we're working on an offer right now, and so it's really cool. Once we decide that you have that feeling and you're both on the same page, you're like, let's offer on it. Then what I do is I analyze all the data that I can from the local sales and try to negotiate and leverage what we can to get a discount, right? There's a couple different ways we can work to get a discount. We can just say, let's get a price reduction, or we can say, let's maybe get a price reduction and a credit towards our closing costs. When we talk about closing costs, we're talking about out-of-pocket expenses that are due at the closing table. And those are things like loan origination, property taxes, insurance, title fees, and so it's about probably 1 and 1.5%. So just because a lot of that is property taxes. In Oregon, we prepay almost 10 months of property taxes, and that gets set aside in an escrow. And Amber Lee can kind of guide you on that a little bit more. But it's one of the nice things when we make our monthly payment on our mortgage, it covers insurance. It covers property taxes, and it covers principal and interest. So in other states, you have your mortgage payment, and then at the end of the year, you have your property tax payment. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. So the way that it works out with your mortgage is once you close, when you're prepaying, you're essentially feeding what's known as an escrow account, that you'll always have a surplus of money to prepay your taxes every year, so you get a discount. So you're just kind of refeeding that account every single year and then paying it. So We analyze, and then I say, here's what I would do if I were offering on the property. You guys can bless it, and then we go get our offer accepted. Once we get our offer accepted, the first thing that we do is we deposit earnest money, and that's money that goes to the title company to let them know, yes, we're serious about this. You know, we want to buy this house, and if we make it all the way to the end, that money goes towards our down payment and our closing costs, right? So it's not money that goes nowhere. If you decide through the process, this isn't the right house, we were wrong, we get that money back, right? So that money's safe. Who is the title company, right? It's a good question that we need to have an answer for. There's 3 parts of this process. There's me, the realtor, there's Amberly, there's the lender, and then there's the title company. The title company is the one that insures your deed on your property to make sure that after you own it, somebody doesn't knock on your door and say, you're living in my house, right? Yeah. So that's their entire job and role is to say, this is your property free and clear once we close on it, right? And so that's a very good thing. So we deposit earnest money at the title company. They run the title checks, make sure everything's clear, make sure no liens are against the property. Yep. I have a couple times. I graduated from Dayton High School. Yeah, and so I lived here many years, lived next to Linfield, actually listing a property right down the road, like in a couple days. So yeah, I love working out here. I also have another property off market that's literally right around the corner. It's a big commercial property here. So yeah, I love this place. Once we deposit our earnest money, then we go to the inspections. The inspections are obviously for your benefit. I always kind of joke and say that when you buy a home, we're getting into a relationship with it. But when we decide to offer, it's kind of like us saying, we like the house enough to know that we're going to go on a date. We don't know much about the house yet, but we know we like it enough that we'll go on a date, right? Once we do inspections and finish inspections, it's kind of like getting through the 3rd and 4th date. We know a lot more about the house at this point, and that's when we decide, can we negotiate to this relationship to make it work, or is this house a complete disaster? Let's run away, right? So at that point is when we renegotiate. There's 2 points in negotiation. It's very common that we will get a large list of things if we're buying a home that exists already and it's not brand new, and in which case we say, what are the top 3 things in the interior, top 3 things in the exterior? And let's discuss if that makes sense to do a price reduction, a bigger credit, or just ask them to repair those things, right? Depending on your level of skill. Some people are like, I can do those repairs myself. Let's ask for $5,000 and let's do it ourselves. So sometimes that's the route we'll go when we find out.
Yeah, like my question is what type of major repairs are where people tend to say to back off, I guess, that maybe we shouldn't do this house?
Yeah, good question. I would say roofing, not so much, because if we go to an inspection and the roof is bad, it's something that the seller knows they need to fix, right? It's something in a house that if you're buying a house, we expect a good roof, right? And so if it is damaged, then that's something I feel like we'd have good leverage to negotiate for. The things that are a little bit bigger and more of a concern would be foundation issues. Now, cracks, sliding, if it's on a slope, things like that. But the thing is anything the price range even close to what you guys are okay for, my concern goes down for those things. And if it is there, then we'll find it in negotiation. And if it is bad, then I'm very vocal in saying, I want to do what I would do for my own property. Let's back away from this and let's go find something else, because there's another house, right? And so if we decide this stuff is manageable, let's talk about this, let's try to get a discount, let's get a credit, let's get repairs, then we put in a repair addendum. And this is the second stage of our negotiation. While that's happening, we have Amber Lee do an appraisal. That is through a third party as well. And appraisals are very good because appraisals are for the bank's benefit and your benefit, because they're measuring 2 things: value and opinion, condition. And so if the bank is loaning you $500,000 for a house, they want to make sure that that house is worth $500,000, because in the worst case happens and you never make a payment, they need to foreclose and get their money back, right? So they need to make sure the value's there, which protects us as well. And then they need to make sure that the condition is there. So they're also going to go through and make sure that there's no groundbreaking things that would say, I don't want to loan on this house. It's not loanable, you know? So they're going to measure those two things and then give us the appraisal. If for some reason the value comes in lower, then that gives us the ability to renegotiate as well, because our purchase price needs to match the value of the appraisal. Then we move to closing and lending documents, and that's pretty much taking place the entirety of this process. And then we just move to sign and close. So it's really easy. Find a house, inspect, figure out the bigger picture of the house, renegotiate, and close.
And on the inspection, like as far as that goes, that's something that we would have to come out of pocket for them.
Great. Yes, great question. So inspections are the one thing besides earnest money that you put down up front. The earnest money, if something happened, we would get back, right? So you wouldn't lose that money. But inspections in Oregon are about $600 for the home inspection, $150 for radon inspection, and $150 for the sewer inspection. So you're looking at about $900 total for inspections. Now the radon, are you guys familiar with what radon is? It's a gas that's naturally emitted out of the ground, and what we want to make sure is that it doesn't condense higher than 4 particles per million in the air per time, because there's arguments and debates that it causes cancer. And so we test for that, make sure that it's lower than the recommended EPA standard. If it is higher, something we can, what they do is they put a big ventilation system in, radon mitigation, and it just exhausts the house quicker than a normal house would breathe. So it takes care of the condensation issue of it kind of gathering up and getting to higher levels than needed. So that's what radon is. We want to test that. And then the sewer as well. Like I said, a lot of sellers don't know that their sewer is bad until we test it. And so we want to make sure that you're not inheriting any problems in the sewer as well. So very important there. So if we inspect and you decide the house isn't for you, you're out $900, but it's a very well $900 spent. Nerve-wracking, right? Yeah. The first, and I will keep you informed of the shot clock at all times, because if we don't hit our shot clocks, we can get in jeopardy of losing our earnest money. What I can tell you is I've never lost earnest money, so we're not going to lose your earnest money, right? I will protect you to make sure that it's protected just like it's mine. And so the more important thing in my eyes than the fine details of the contract is knowing what the inspection due diligence period is, because at any point, and it should typically be, you see, 7 business days. So that's from the time we get our offer accepted. We have 7 business days to really kind of sit on it, think about it, do our due diligence, gather more information. For any reason before this period is up, you can say, I'm out. So that's what the important thing to know is. It's like you're not locked in until you get past this period, right? So that's the important thing. But yeah, it's our contract is very, very simple, and so you'll understand each part of it. If you want to go through it in person, happy to do that as well. But I know I like the back of my hand, and so it's like it's simple to me. Yeah, so that's a good thing. Yep. What other questions do we have?
I was interested on what you said, like as far as investing after like a certain time or something like that. So then we have our first purchase, and then after so many years, we built. Is that?
Yep. That's the idea, and I think that's a great idea. Is want you to feel extremely comfortable and just firing those questions away, right? Because this is your time to feel comfortable. It doesn't help anybody if you're like, I'm unsure, you know, we want you to make sound decisions. I told Oscar, I'll give you advice and you guys make decisions, right? So I'll never make decisions for you. Like, I will just give you the advice and you guys talk amongst each other and say, this is what we want to do. Well, yeah, fairly simple that way. And I like to have fun too. Like, this should be fun, right? Like, this is an exciting time for you. And I love how when I talked to Oscar the first time, he was so excited about it. And I told Amberly, we both, because Amberly's like, aren't they the best? Da, da, da. I'm like, she's like, those are the type of people that you want to work for. We're in the service industry. We're here to serve, right? And so when we meet people like you that have been working hard and you've got yourself in a position, you got a young family, it's like, let's go get it, you know, and let's go.
Union Block Coffee, absolute fire. I need a lid. I'm spilling all over myself.